Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but at one point or another, when we get older as well, we tend to get taught or almost believe that at some point or another, the only way for another person to possibly understand us or to understand what we went through, especially if we suffered, that we need to have them, either us do it to them or somebody else do it to them, have them go through what we went through in order to understand, if you know what I'm saying. And I don't believe that should be true. I do believe we should be able to give other people a heads up and talk to them, use our communication skills, our language that we developed as human beings to explain and teach. As we learn, we can also teach others what we learn as well, especially if they're good lessons. We don't always need to inflict onto others what we've been through ourselves. I think it's a little bit easier said than done sometimes when people still have what do you call them? Triggers. When you still have specific triggers that really set you off or get you going emotionally, it makes it very, very hard sometimes when it comes to your reactions, not to inflict onto somebody what you went through yourself. But there definitely needs to be a point where we need to understand that other people that have not gone through what we've gone through can learn about what we've gone through, can learn the lessons that we've taken from it, that we've learned through that suffering, if any, so that the next generation or the next set of people, almost like pioneers, don't have to go through the same shit. I think it's a very productive way of thinking, in my opinion. I think it's very important that we all teach each other the valuable lessons that we've learned through any kind of struggle or pain or hardship or anything like that. And when it comes to emotional pain, the things that we went through, our traumas and the certain afflictions that we may have suffered due to the hand of other people that were not able themselves to heal, that were not able to learn their lessons, that projected certain things towards us through their own emotional response, because they did not govern the tools to manage their emotions, and it let them it kind of got the best of them. So they acted how they experienced during that reaction towards another person. And I've said this myself and have had other people say it to me. Now you know how it feels. Given that this is true, if a person does go through what you go through or what they experience is something you've experienced, it's very easy, just to throw that out there and say those sort of things. But honestly, if you teach another person, if you give them the heads up, if you explain to them, of course, there's always going to be the moment where somebody's rebellious and, young and especially in spirit, and they want to learn for themselves. And that's where you get the saying, learn the hard way. But there's also the moment where there are individuals that choose to take the wisdom or knowledge from those that have gone through suffering and pain and learn from the lessons so that they don't recreate that sort of cycle for themselves, and so they don't pile on any extra karma for themselves, and so that they don't have to go through that sort of turmoil or torment or even stop themselves before they inflict any harm on another person. So I think this is very valuable. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm stuttering. Maybe somebody out there has a habit of stuttering and not being able to speak for themselves. But if that's the case, you should very well be able to speak your truth and say what you need to say. And if there's something you want to teach another person and you have the opportunity to do so, instead of just kind of letting them, figure it out for themselves, you're allowed to communicate and explain to them a specific situation you went through or something that you suffered or anything like that, and kind of pass down that knowledge so that they at least have it in their memory bank somewhere. If they really wanted to dive deep and go within and take any advice or wisdom from any other person, that has experienced what they're about to go through or what they are currently going through, and they say, hey, this person told me that I should maybe approach it like this, or maybe avoid doing this, and they actually heed those words, it may very well stop a lot of continuous cycles that keep going and going and going throughout history. I myself am learning certain lessons. I'm at a new level now. I'm learning certain lessons about my own ego, about my own karmic ways that I used to look at, about my own fears, if any insecurities pop out. And that was allowed to me, and I'm more prepared to go through these sort of things, to look at these sort of shadow aspects of myself, because I've done the preparation to get to this point. It's almost like a checkpoint. Every time I do more healing, then I'm being brought into another situation where there's a possible good or bad tower, which isn't really good or bad, it's just positive or negative, and it's to create change so that I can move forward and learn the lessons and heal. And right now I'm currently going through certain things, and I've learned very valuable lessons because somebody was brave enough to speak their truth to me, to say what most people were maybe too afraid to say towards myself. And they had the ability and used such to express themselves to me. And I can't tell you how grateful I am, even if the situation itself could have been a little chaotic, or, understanding the communication was a little bit off. There's still things I'm learning as well as this other person. So it's really, really valuable to me that I sat down, and instead of reacting emotionally this time around, like I did in the past, this time I sat and I listened to what the fuck was being spoken to me. Regardless of whether or not at that moment in time I agreed, I went through every single word that was said. And I learned some things about myself that I was not ready in the past to admit or acknowledge. And this has helped me grow, and this is going to help me continue to create a solid foundation, not just for myself, but those that I choose to have in my life. And it's very important that I went through this sort of test, this exercise, whatever you want to call it, in order to elevate further.